The rain fell hard over the city that Friday night. Outside the most expensive restaurant in Manhattan, a boy no older than 12 stood shivering in clothes too thin for winter. His shoes had holes, his hair was wet, and his eyes held a kind of sadness that no child should ever know. Inside that restaurant, surrounded by crystal chandeliers and the laughter of wealthy people, sat a man named Marcus Wellington. He was 52 years old. He owned buildings that touched the sky. He owned companies that employed thousands. He was worth $9 billion. But on this particular night, Marcus Wellington had no appetite. He pushed his untouched steak across the plate, lost in thoughts about board meetings and stock prices. That's when the boy appeared at the window. Their eyes met through the glass, the billionaire in his tailored suit and the child in his ragged clothes. For one strange moment, something passed between them, something neither could explain. The boy quickly looked away and walked toward the back of the restaurant, toward the kitchen exit where the trash bins waited. He did this every Friday. He knew the schedule. He knew that at exactly 9:30, the kitchen staff would throw out the leftovers. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, Marcus Wellington stood up from his table, left $300 for a meal he never touched, and followed that boy into the alley. What happened next would change both of their lives forever. It would expose a secret buried for 12 years. It would reveal a betrayal so deep that it would shake Marcus Wellington to his core. And it would answer the question that had haunted him every single night since the day his first love disappeared without a trace. To understand what was about to happen in that cold, wet alley, we need to go back to a time when Marcus Wellington was not a billionaire, back to when he was just a 20-year-old college student with big dreams and an even bigger heart. In those days, Marcus worked 3 jobs to pay his tuition. He delivered newspapers at dawn, he washed dishes at a diner during lunch, and at night he worked as a janitor at the university library. He had no wealthy family, no connections, no safety net. Everything he had, he earned with his own 2 hands. But Marcus had something that money could not buy. He had determination, he had vision. And he believed, truly believed, that one day he would build something great. It was at the university library where he first saw her. Her name was Elena Vasquez. She had dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes the color of honey in sunlight. She worked the night shift at the library's front desk, checking out books and helping students find what they needed. The first time Marcus saw her, he forgot how to breathe. She was reading a book about astronomy, and her lips moved slightly as she read. There was something so pure about her, so genuine, that Marcus felt like he was looking at a painting in a museum. Beautiful, untouchable, existing in a world far above his own. For 3 weeks, Marcus could not find the courage to speak to her. He would mop the floors near her desk, stealing glances when she was not looking. He would organize books on shelves that did not need organizing, just to stay close. And every night, when his shift ended, he would walk home wondering what her voice sounded like. Then, one night, she spoke first. "You missed a spot," she said, pointing to a small stain on the floor near the entrance. Marcus looked at the spot. Then he looked at her, and somehow, incredibly, he found words. "Maybe I left it there on purpose," he said, "so I'd have a reason to come back." Elena laughed. It was the most beautiful sound Marcus had ever heard. From that night on, they were inseparable. They would meet after their shifts ended, walking through the quiet campus as the moon rose high. They would share their dreams with each other, Marcus talking about the business empire he wanted to build, Elena talking about becoming a nurse and helping people in need. They came from similar backgrounds. Elena's parents had immigrated from a small village in Mexico. They worked in the fields, picking strawberries for wealthy farmers. Elena had watched her mother's hands crack and bleed from the work. She had watched her father's back bend more each year, and she had promised herself that she would give them a better life. "We're the same, you and me," Elena told Marcus one night as they sat on a bench overlooking the campus lake. "We know what it means to have nothing, and that's why we work so hard, because we know what nothing feels like." Marcus took her hand. "When I make it," he said, "I'm going to give you everything, a house with a garden, a car that actually works, vacations to places with beaches and palm trees, everything, Elena. I promise." She smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "I don't need everything," she whispered. "I just need you." For 2 beautiful years, they built their love. They studied together. They dreamed together. They planned a future together. Marcus gave Elena a ring, not a diamond because he could not afford one, but a simple silver band that had belonged to his grandmother. "This is my promise," he said, slipping it onto her finger. "Someday I'll replace it with something worthy of you." Elena shook her head. "Nothing could be more worthy than this," she said, "because you gave it with your whole heart." They planned to marry after graduation. Marcus had already been accepted into an MBA program across the country. Elena would transfer to a nursing school in the same city. They had it all figured out. But then everything changed. It started with Marcus's mother. Dorothy Wellington was a proud woman. She came from old money that had long since disappeared, but she held onto her pride like a weapon. When Marcus's father died, leaving behind nothing but debts, Dorothy had sold everything to keep up appearances. She lived in a small apartment, pretending it was a temporary situation, waiting for the day when Marcus would restore the family name to glory. Marcus loved his mother. She had sacrificed everything for him. She had worked jobs she hated so he could go to school. She had gone hungry so he could eat. And she had filled his head with visions of greatness, telling him every day that he was destined for something magnificent. But Dorothy Wellington had one flaw that poisoned everything she touched. She believed that people were only valuable based on their status. When Marcus brought Elena home to meet her, Dorothy said all the right things. She smiled. She complimented Elena's dress. She served tea in chipped cups, pretending they were fine china. But after Elena left, Dorothy's mask fell. "You cannot be serious," she said, her voice cold as ice. Marcus frowned. "About what?" "That girl. You cannot possibly think she's appropriate for you." "Appropriate? Mother, I love her." Dorothy laughed bitterly. "Love?" "Marcus, do you know who that girl's parents are? They're farm workers, migrant laborers. They pick fruit for a living." She spat the words like they burned her tongue. "So what?" Marcus felt his blood heating. "Elena is brilliant. She's kind. She's going to be a nurse. She's going to help people. She's going to hold you back." Dorothy slammed her hand on the table. "I did not sacrifice everything, Marcus, so you could throw your future away on some... Choose your next words very carefully, Mother." Dorothy took a breath. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter but no less dangerous. "Marcus, listen to me. I know how the world works. You think love is enough? It's not. When you're building your empire, you'll need connections. You'll need a wife who can open doors, who can charm investors, who can host parties with senators and CEOs. What is that girl going to do? Serve them tortillas? Stop it. You have a chance to be someone, Marcus, a real someone. But if you marry her, you'll always be the boy who married beneath him. People will whisper, doors will close. Is that what you want? Is that why I gave up everything?" Marcus stood up. "I'm going to marry Elena, with or without your blessing." He walked out and slammed the door behind him. For months, Dorothy said nothing more about Elena. She attended their graduation. She smiled in the photographs. She even helped Marcus pack for his move across the country. But Dorothy Wellington was not the kind of woman who accepted defeat. She simply waited for the right moment. And when that moment came, she struck with precision. Wakadhora. And it happened 3 days before Marcus was supposed to leave for his MBA program. He came home to find Elena sitting on his bed, her face wet with tears. a letter clutched in her hands. "What's wrong?" Marcus rushed to her side. "Elena, what happened?" She handed him the letter. It was from a hospital in Texas. It said that Elena's father had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. It said that he had 6 months to live. It said that the only treatment that might save him was experimental, extremely expensive, and not covered by insurance. "I have to go home," Elena whispered. "I have to be with my family." "Of course," Marcus said. "I understand. We'll figure this out. I'll come with you." "No." Elena pulled away. "Marcus, you can't give up your MBA program. This is your dream. This is everything you've worked for. You're my dream, Elena. You and me, that's the dream. And if you give up this opportunity, you'll resent me for the rest of your life. You'll wonder what could have been. And that wondering will poison everything between us." "That's not true." "Yes, it is." She took his face in her hands. "I know you, Marcus. I know how important this is to you, and I love you too much to let you throw it away." "Then what do we do?" Elena took a deep breath. "I go home. I take care of my father. And you go to your program. We stay in touch. We make it work. And when you're done, when you've started building your empire, you come back for me." "That could be years, Elena." "I'll wait." She kissed him softly. "I'll wait forever if I have to." The next morning Elena was gone. She left a note on his pillow. It said she loved him. It said she believed in him. It said she would write to him every week. For the first month she did. Her letters were beautiful. She wrote about sitting by her father's bedside, reading to him, helping her mother with the house. She wrote about missing Marcus, counting the days until they could be together again. She wrote about the silver ring she wore on her finger, the promise it represented. Marcus wrote back every single time. He told her about his classes, about the ideas forming in his mind, about the business plan he was developing. He told her how empty his bed felt without her. He told her to hold on just a little longer. Then suddenly the letters stopped. Marcus wrote again, and again, and again. He called her family's house, but the number had been disconnected. He tried to find her through mutual friends, but no one knew where she had gone. It was like Elena had vanished from the face of the earth. Desperate, Marcus went to her family's address during winter break, but the house was empty. A neighbor said the family had moved in the middle of the night. They did not say where they were going. They did not leave any forwarding address. Marcus searched for years. He hired private investigators. He searched public records. He did everything he could think of. But Elena Vasquez was gone. Eventually, painfully, Marcus forced himself to accept the truth. She had left him. She had changed her mind. She had decided that a future with him was not worth waiting for. The rejection broke something inside him. He threw himself into his work with a ferocity that scared even his professors. He stopped sleeping. He stopped eating properly. He became a machine designed for one purpose: success. And succeed he did. By 30, Marcus had started his first company. By 40, he had sold it for $500 million. By 50, he had built Wellington Industries into one of the most powerful conglomerates in the world. But the money never filled the hole that Elena had left. He married once to a woman named Victoria. She was exactly what his mother had always wanted: wealthy, connected, beautiful, in a cold sort of way. The marriage lasted 8 years and produced no children. Victoria wanted a husband who would attend parties and play golf at country clubs. Marcus wanted someone who would sit with him on a bench overlooking the water and dream about the future. They divorced quietly. Victoria took a generous settlement. Marcus kept his companies and his loneliness. Now, at 52, Marcus Wellington had everything money could buy and nothing that actually mattered. And on this rainy Friday night, he had just followed a starving child into an alley behind Manhattan's finest restaurant. Sorry. The alley smelled like garbage and wet concrete. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the cold remained, biting through Marcus's expensive coat. He found the boy crouched beside a dumpster, trying to reach a bag of discarded bread through a gap in the metal. "Hey," Marcus said softly. The boy spun around, terror in his eyes. He was ready to run. "It's okay." Marcus held up his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. I saw you through the window. I wanted to help." The boy stared at him with suspicion. "Why?" "Because you look hungry, and it's cold, and—" Marcus paused. There was something about this boy's face, something familiar that he could not quite place. And because no child should have to eat from a garbage bin. "I'm not a child," the boy said, lifting his chin with defiance. "I'm 12. I can take care of myself." Marcus almost smiled. 12. Practically an adult. "I'm sure you can," he said. "But how about just for tonight you let someone else help? I own that restaurant. The chef makes the best steak in the city. How about we go inside, get you warmed up, and get you something to eat?" The boy's eyes narrowed. "What do you want? People don't just help for nothing." "Smart kid." Marcus nodded. "You're right, most people don't. But I'm not most people. And tonight I feel like doing something good. Call it paying it forward." The boy hesitated. He looked at the dumpster, he looked at the warm lights of the restaurant, and finally, slowly, he nodded. "Okay, but I'm not staying long. I have to get back." "Why, back where?" The boy did not answer. All inside the restaurant, the staff stared. Marcus Wellington, their most important regular customer, had just walked in with a homeless child. The host's mouth hung open. "Mr. Wellington, should I call someone?" "You should bring 2 of Mario's special steaks," Marcus interrupted. "2 baked potatoes, 2 orders of whatever vegetables the kitchen has, and 2 slices of chocolate cake. We'll be at my usual table." "But, sir—" "Now, please." The host scurried away. Marcus led the boy to a corner booth, away from the stares of other diners. The boy slid into the seat, touching the white tablecloth like it was made of clouds. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. "Thomas? Tommy?" "Nice to meet you, Tommy. I'm Marcus." "I know who you are." Tommy looked around the restaurant. "You're Marcus Wellington. I've seen your picture in newspapers. So you can read." "Of course I can read. I'm not stupid." "I never said you were." Marcus leaned forward. "Where do you go to school, Tommy?" The boy's expression closed off. "I don't." "Why not?" "Because we move too much, and schools ask too many questions." "We? Who's we?" Tommy shifted in his seat. "My mom." "And where's your mom now?" She's sick. She's at home. That's why I have to get back. She needs me." Something tightened in Marcus's chest. "What's wrong with her?" "I don't know. She coughs a lot, and she's always tired. She used to work, but then she got too sick. Now I have to find food for us." The plates arrived, beautiful, steaming, filling the air with the scent of perfectly cooked meat. Tommy's eyes went wide. He reached for his fork, then hesitated, looking at Marcus. "Go ahead," Marcus said gently. "It's all for you." Tommy ate like a boy who had not had a real meal in weeks, which Marcus realized was probably exactly the case. As he watched the boy devour the food, Marcus noticed something. Tommy had a small scar on his right hand, between his thumb and forefinger. It was shaped almost like a crescent moon. Marcus's heart stopped. He had the exact same scar, in the exact same place. He had gotten it when he was 7 years old, climbing a tree in his grandmother's yard. The doctor had said it would fade, but it never did. A coincidence. It had to be a coincidence. But then Marcus looked more closely at Tommy's face, at the shape of his jaw, at the way his left eyebrow quirked slightly higher than the right when he was concentrating, at the small dimple that appeared in his chin when he chewed. Marcus saw himself. He saw the face that looked back at him from the mirror every morning. This was impossible. This had to be impossible. "Tommy," Marcus said, his voice strange even to his own ears, "what's your mother's name?" Tommy looked up from his plate. "Why do you want to know?" "Please, just tell me." Something in Marcus's tone made Tommy set down his fork. Her name is Elena, he said. Elena Vasquez. The room spun. Marcus gripped the edge of the table. It couldn't be. After all these years, after all the searching, after giving up hope. Tommy, Marcus whispered, I need you to take me to her right now. Why? What do you want with my mom? Because, Marcus's voice broke. Because I think I might be your father. Tommy stared at him. Then he laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. My father is dead, he said. That's what my mom always told me. He died before I was born. She told you that? Yes. She said he was a good man. She said he would have loved me, but he's dead. He's been dead for 12 years. Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes. Tommy, I'm not dead. I'm right here. And I swear to you on everything I am, I never knew you existed. I never knew. Tommy pushed back from the table. You're lying. You're just like everyone else. You want something. People always want something. I don't want anything except the truth. Please, Tommy, take me to your mother. Let me talk to her. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize and I'll leave. But if I'm right, if you're right, what? Marcus looked at this boy, this child who had been eating from garbage cans while his father dined in the finest restaurants. This child who should have had everything, who should have been loved and protected and given every opportunity in the world. If I'm right, Marcus said quietly, then I have 12 years to make up for, and I don't want to waste another minute. They took Marcus's car through the rainy streets of Manhattan, then across a bridge, then into parts of the city that Marcus had never seen. The buildings grew smaller and more crowded. The streets grew darker. The world that Marcus Wellington knew faded away, replaced by something raw and real and desperately poor. Tommy led him to a building that looked like it might collapse at any moment. The front door had no lock. The stairwell smelled like mold and other things Marcus did not want to identify. 4th floor, Tommy said. No elevator. They climbed. When they reached apartment 4C, Tommy hesitated at the door. She's going to be mad at me, he said. She told me to never bring anyone here. Why? She said people are dangerous. She said we have to stay hidden. Hidden. Hidden from what? From whom? Tommy, Marcus said carefully, who is your mother hiding from? The boy looked at his worn shoes. I don't know. She never told me. But sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep, she cries. She says a name. She says she's sorry. What name? Tommy looked up. His eyes, those honey-colored eyes that Marcus now recognized with terrible clarity, held a question. Marcus? Tommy said. She says your name. The door opened before Marcus could respond, and there she was, 20 years older. Her hair was gray now, streaked with the black he remembered. Her face was thin, marked by illness and time and grief. But those eyes, those honey-colored eyes that had captured his heart in a university library, were exactly the same. Tommy, what? Elena stopped. She saw Marcus, and the color drained from her face. No, she whispered. No, 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 it can't be. You can't be here. Elena, go away, please. Go away. Elena, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me the truth. Marcus's voice was shaking. You were pregnant when you left. You were carrying my child, and you never told me. Elena collapsed against the doorframe. Her legs gave out. Tommy rushed to catch her, but Marcus was faster. He scooped her up in his arms, feeling how light she was, how fragile. She was nothing like the strong, vibrant woman he had known. Where's her bed? Marcus demanded. Tommy pointed to a doorway. Marcus carried Elena into a small room with a single mattress on the floor and set her down gently. The room was cold. There was no heat. In December. Tommy, Marcus said, call 911. Your mother needs a hospital. No! Elena's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. No hospitals. They'll find me. They'll take Tommy. Who will find you? Elena, what are you talking about? She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Marcus saw something in her eyes that he had never seen before. Fear. "Your mother," Elena whispered. "She'll find me, and she'll destroy us, just like she tried to do before." The world tilted. "My mother? What does my mother have to do with any of this?" Elena closed her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. "She's the one who made me leave, Marcus. She's the one who tore us apart." 20 years ago, 3 days before Marcus was supposed to leave for his MBA program. Elena remembered that day like it was yesterday. She had been in her dorm room, packing her things for the trip back to Texas. Her father was sick. That part was true. But not terminally ill. He had a treatable condition. He would be fine. The letter she had shown Marcus was a lie, a forgery. She had not discovered this until it was too late. There was a knock at her door. When she opened it, she found Dorothy Wellington standing there, holding an envelope. "May I come in?" Dorothy's voice was polite, but her eyes were cold. "Of course, Mrs. Wellington." Elena stepped aside. "Is everything okay? Is Marcus—" "Marcus is fine. It's you I'm concerned about." Dorothy walked into the room and looked around at Elena's meager possessions. Her lip curled slightly. "My dear," she said, "we need to have a conversation, woman to woman." "About what?" "About the future. My son's future. And yours." Dorothy sat on the edge of Elena's bed, uninvited. She smoothed her skirt and looked up at Elena with an expression that could have frozen fire. "I'll be direct," she said. "You are not suitable for my son. You never were, and you never will be. I've allowed this relationship to continue because I believed it would burn itself out. Young people often lose interest, but Marcus seems determined to cling to you, so I've decided to intervene." Elena's heart began to pound. "Mrs. Wellington, I love your son, and he loves me. We're going to get married?" "No, you're not." "Excuse me." Dorothy opened her envelope and removed a photograph. She handed it to Elena. It showed a young man, handsome, well-dressed, entering what appeared to be a motel room with a woman who was definitely not Elena. The woman's face was not visible, but the man's was clearly recognizable. It was Marcus. "What is this?" Elena's hands were shaking. "That was taken last week, at the Riverside Motel. You know the place, I'm sure. All the young people use it for their indiscretions. This isn't real. You faked this." "Did I?" Dorothy's smile was a blade. "Look at the date stamp, dear. Look at the details. That's my son's car in the background. That's his jacket. That's the briefcase I bought him for his birthday." Elena stared at the photograph. She wanted to tear it to shreds. She wanted to call it a lie. But it did look like Marcus. It looked exactly like Marcus. "He's been seeing her for months," Dorothy continued. "Did you really think he would be faithful? Men like my son, men destined for greatness, they have needs, and you, my dear, are not enough to satisfy them." "You're lying." "Am I?" "Then call him. Ask him where he was last Tuesday night. Go on, I'll wait." Elena did not move. "That's what I thought." Dorothy stood up. "Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Tonight, you're going to tell Marcus that your father is dying. I've prepared a letter from the hospital to make it convincing. You're going to go home to Texas, and you're going to stay there. And when Marcus tries to contact you, you're going to ignore him." "I won't do that." "Yes, you will. Because if you don't," Dorothy's voice dropped to a whisper, "I will destroy your family." "What?" "Your father's work visa expires next month. He's been working with expired papers for 2 years now. Your mother, too. And your little brother, the one who got arrested for that bar fight last year. One phone call to the right people, and your family will be deported. Or worse." Elena felt the blood drain from her face. "You wouldn't." "Try me." Dorothy picked up her purse. "I have connections you cannot imagine, dear. I may not have money anymore, but I have old friends in powerful places. One word from me, and your father will die in a detention center. Is that what you want, to save your little romance while your parents rot behind bars?" Elena's legs gave out. She sank onto the bed, tears streaming down her face. "Leave tonight," Dorothy said from the doorway. "Break my son's heart now and save your family. It's really the only choice you have." Then she was gone. That night, Elena left. She wrote the note. She left the silver ring on Marcus's pillow, too heartbroken to keep it, too broken to say goodbye in person. And for 6 weeks, she wrote letters to Marcus as he had asked. She wrote about missing him, about loving him, about hoping they could be together again, but she never mailed them. She never mailed a single one, because she knew Dorothy was watching, and she knew what Dorothy would do if Elena tried to maintain contact. Then Elena discovered she was pregnant. The pregnancy changed everything and nothing. Elena thought about reaching out to Marcus. She imagined calling him, telling him the truth about his mother, about the threats, about the baby growing inside her. But every time she picked up the phone, she remembered Dorothy's cold eyes. She remembered the threats against her family. And she remembered the photograph, that horrible photograph that still haunted her dreams. Was it real? Was Marcus truly cheating on her? Or was it an elaborate forgery designed to break her faith? She never found out. And in the end, it did not matter. Because 3 months into her pregnancy, Dorothy Wellington appeared again. Elena was living in a small town in Texas, staying with an aunt, working as a waitress in a diner. She had told no one about the pregnancy. She wore loose clothes and kept her head down. But somehow, Dorothy found her. "I see you've been busy," Dorothy said, eyeing Elena's growing belly as they sat across from each other in a booth at the diner. "What do you want?" "To congratulate you, of course. You're carrying my grandchild. This is wonderful news." "Stay away from me." "I'm afraid I can't do that, dear. You see, you've created a complication. If Marcus ever learns about this child, he'll come running back to you. And I cannot allow that. He won't find out. I haven't contacted him. I won't contact him. Just leave me alone." Dorothy studied her fingernails. "I wish I could believe you, but mothers do foolish things for their children. You might decide someday that Marcus should know, and that simply cannot happen." "What are you going to do? Force me to get an abortion?" Dorothy looked genuinely offended. "What kind of monster do you think I am? That's my grandchild you're carrying. I would never harm it." "Then what?" "I'm going to make you disappear, permanently. I have contacts who can arrange new identities, new papers, a new life in a place where Marcus will never find you." "And if I refuse?" "Then your father will be deported, your mother will lose her job, and your brother will go to prison for a very, very long time." Dorothy smiled. "I've been collecting information about your family, dear. It's remarkable what people will do when they're desperate. Forged checks, falsified documents. Your brother even sold stolen car parts. Did you know that?" Elena felt the walls closing in. "You can't do this." "I already have." Dorothy slid an envelope across the table. "Inside you'll find a plane ticket, new identity papers, and an address in Chicago. You'll move there tonight. You'll have your baby there, and you'll never, ever contact my son again. He'll look for me. He already has. And I've made sure he won't find you." Dorothy leaned forward. "I told him you were seen with another man. I told him you left because you never really loved him. You were just using him for his money." "That's a lie." "Of course it is, but Marcus believes it. He believes you abandoned him because he wasn't rich enough yet." Dorothy's smile was pure poison. "And that belief is driving him to become the man I always knew he could be. He's ruthless now, focused. He doesn't waste time on sentimentality anymore. In a way, my dear, you've done him a favor." Elena felt something die inside her, the hope she had been holding on to, the tiny flame of belief that somehow, someday, everything would work out, flickered and went out. "Take the envelope," Dorothy said. "Build a new life. Raise my grandchild in secret, and pray that I never have a reason to visit you again." Elena took the envelope, and she disappeared. In the cold apartment in New York 20 years later, Elena finished telling her story. Marcus was silent. He had not moved throughout her entire account. He had not blinked. "She told me you were cheating," Elena whispered. "She showed me a photograph. I didn't want to believe it, but—" "I never cheated on you." Marcus's voice was hollow. "I never even looked at another woman. Not until years after you left. Not until I had given up hope of ever finding you. I know that now. But then, I was scared. I was pregnant. And she had so much power over my family. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you send me a letter, a message, anything?" "She was watching. She had people watching. Every time I tried to contact you, something would happen. A car would park outside my apartment. A strange man would follow me to work. She made sure I knew that I was never truly free." Marcus turned to look at Tommy, who was sitting in the corner, watching with wide eyes. His son, his son. "12 years?" Marcus said. "You kept my son from me for 12 years. "I was trying to protect him." Elena's voice broke. "I was trying to protect you. Your mother, she's dangerous, Marcus. My mother is dead." The words fell like stones into water. "What?" Elena's face went white. "She died 3 years ago. Heart attack. Very sudden. She never mentioned you. She never mentioned any of this." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Even in death, she kept her secrets. I didn't know. I didn't know she was gone. I've been hiding for so long, I stopped paying attention to anything outside my own survival." Marcus looked around the apartment, at the crumbling walls, at the single mattress, at the pile of donated clothes in the corner, at his son, who had been eating from garbage cans, while Marcus ate steak in crystal chandeliered restaurants. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question burst from him like a dam breaking. "After she died, you could have come to me. You could have told me the truth. I would have—" "Would have what?" Elena's voice was suddenly sharp. "Believed me? After 20 years? Your mother spent 2 decades poisoning your mind against me. She told you I abandoned you. She told you I was a gold digger. She made sure you would hate me. I never hated you. I was hurt. I was confused, but I never—" "You stopped looking." Elena's eyes were bright with tears. "After 3 years you stopped. I watched the news. I followed your career from a distance. I saw the interviews where you talked about being single, about focusing on work, and I knew that she had won. She had broken you. You could have come to me after she died. You could have called me. You could have sent Tommy with a message. Anything." "I was going to." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "I was planning to. I was saving money to travel to New York to find you, to tell you everything, but then I got sick, and the money went to medicine. And it was never enough. And Tommy—" She looked at her son with such love and such guilt that Marcus felt his heart crack. "Tommy had to grow up too fast," she continued. "He had to take care of me. He had to find food for us. And I couldn't ask him to do more. I couldn't ask him to walk into the home of a billionaire and announce himself as the lost son. Who would believe him? Who would believe any of us?" Marcus sank to his knees beside the mattress. He took Elena's thin hand in his. "I'm here now," he said. "I'm here, and I'm not leaving." "You should." Elena's voice was resigned. "You have a reputation to protect, a company to run. Imagine the scandal, the billionaire's secret love child. The press would eat you alive." "I don't care about the press. You should. This isn't a fairy tale, Marcus. You can't just sweep in and save us. Life doesn't work that way." "Maybe not." Marcus looked at Tommy, who was watching them with a mixture of hope and fear. "But I've spent 20 years building an empire that means nothing. I've spent 20 years sleeping in empty beds and eating meals alone. I've spent 20 years feeling like something was missing, like the most important piece of my life had been ripped away." He turned back to Elena. "I'm not going to waste another moment, not one more day, not one more hour." He took a breath. "I'm going to fix this, all of it, the apartment, the illness, the 12 years I've missed with my son. I'm going to fix it all. You can't fix 12 years. No, but I can start making up for them. Right now." The next weeks were a whirlwind. Marcus moved Elena and Tommy out of the crumbling apartment that same night. He installed them in the penthouse suite of the finest hotel in Manhattan. He hired the best doctors in the city to examine Elena. The diagnosis was treatable, a severe case of pneumonia that had developed into chronic bronchitis due to years of neglect. With proper medication and care, she would recover fully, but the emotional wounds would take much longer to heal. Tommy, especially, struggled to adjust. He had spent his entire life surviving. He had learned to trust no one, to expect nothing, to take care of himself and his mother. Now, suddenly, he had a father, a billionaire father, a father who wanted to buy him everything, who wanted to enroll him in the finest schools, who wanted to make up for 12 years in 12 days. "You can't just show up and be my dad," Tommy told Marcus one night, when Marcus tried to teach him how to tie a necktie for an upcoming dinner. "That's not how it works." "Then, how does it work?" "I don't know." Tommy's voice cracked. "I've never had a dad. I don't know what to do." Marcus set down the tie. He looked at his son, really looked at him. "Neither do I," he admitted. "I've never been a father. I don't know the first thing about it. But I'm willing to learn, if you're willing to teach me." "Teach you what?" "How to be what you need, not what I think you need, not what I think a father should be, but what you actually need." Marcus took a breath. "I missed your first steps, your first words, your first day of school. I missed everything that matters. I can't get those moments back. But I can be there for the moments that are coming, if you'll let me." Tommy was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, he reached for the tie. "It goes like this," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You make a loop first, then you pull the other end through." Marcus watched his son's hands, the same hands he had seen reaching for garbage through a dumpster, carefully threading the silk. "Where did you learn to tie a tie?" Marcus asked. "YouTube?" Tommy smiled slightly. "There was this video. It was for kids who didn't have dads. It taught them how to do all the things dads usually teach." Something broke in Marcus's chest. He pulled his son into a hug, the first real hug they had ever shared. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I wasn't there." "It's not your fault." Tommy's voice was muffled against Marcus's shoulder. "It was your mom. She did this, not you. I should have looked harder. I should have never given up." "You didn't know. You couldn't have known." Tommy pulled back and looked at his father. "But you're here now. That's what matters, right?" "Right." Marcus wiped his eyes. "That's what matters." Elena recovered slowly, day by day. As her health returned, so did the woman Marcus remembered. The spark in her eyes, the quick laugh, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. They talked for hours about the years they had lost, about the future they might still have, about the child who had brought them back together. "I never stopped loving you," Elena told him one night as they sat on the balcony of her hotel suite, looking out at the city lights. "Even when I thought you had betrayed me, even when I tried to hate you, I couldn't." "I never stopped either." Marcus took her hand. "I married someone else. I tried to move on, but you were always there, in the back of my mind. The one who got away, the one I couldn't forget. Your mother must have hated that. She never said. She never mentioned your name after you left. It was like you had never existed." She was protecting her investment. Elena's voice was not bitter, just tired. She saw you as her ticket back to respectability. She couldn't let anything, especially not love, stand in the way of that. She was wrong about everything. Was she, though? Elena looked at him. "You did become a billionaire. You did build an empire. Would that have happened if I had stayed? If we had gotten married, had Tommy together, struggled through those early years?" Marcus considered the question. "I don't know. Maybe not. But what good is an empire if you're empty inside? What good is all the money in the world if you don't have anyone to share it with? You have people now. I have you." He squeezed her hand. "I have Tommy. That's all I need. Are you sure? This is all happening so fast. A month ago, you were a bachelor with nothing to lose. Now you have a sick former girlfriend and a 12-year-old son who barely knows you. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city sparkle below. "Tommy has your stubbornness," Elena said eventually. "Does he?" "Oh, absolutely. When he makes up his mind about something, there's no changing it. He gets that look in his eyes, the same look you used to get when someone told you that you couldn't do something." Marcus laughed. "My mother used to say that was my worst quality. It's your best quality. It's why you succeeded. It's why you never completely forgot about me. And it's why you're sitting here right now instead of running away from all of this. I could never run from you. Not again." Elena leaned her head against his shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we become a family, a real family." Marcus took a breath. "If you'll have me." "I'll have you," Elena whispered. "I've always had you, even when you weren't there." The press discovered them eventually. Of course they did. Nothing stays secret forever, especially not when you're one of the richest men in the world. "Wellington's secret family," the headline screamed. "Billionaire finds son who was begging for food." The story spread across the internet like wildfire. People debated, speculated, judged. Some said it was a publicity stunt. Others said it was a scam by a desperate woman. A few more cynical voices suggested that Tommy was not really Marcus's son at all. Marcus hired a public relations team. He hired lawyers. He prepared for battle. But the battle never came. Because 1 month after the story broke, something unexpected happened. A box arrived at Marcus's office. It was old, battered, covered in dust. It came with a letter from the executor of Dorothy Wellington's estate. "This was found in your mother's storage unit," the letter said. "She left instructions for it to be destroyed, but we felt you should see it first." Marcus opened the box. Inside were hundreds of letters, hundreds of unopened letters, addressed to Marcus in Elena's handwriting. She had written to him. All those years ago she had written to him every week, just as she had promised. But Dorothy had intercepted every single letter. Dorothy had made sure that none of them ever reached her son, and there was more. Beneath the letters were documents, medical records showing that Elena's father had never been terminally ill, phone records showing calls between Dorothy and the hospital that had sent the forged letter, bank statements showing payments to private investigators who had followed Elena for years. And at the very bottom of the box was a photograph. It showed Marcus entering a motel room with a woman, but looking closely, looking with eyes that were not clouded by fear and manipulation, Marcus could see that it was not him at all. It was someone who looked like him, wearing his jacket, carrying his briefcase, a double, an actor, hired to create a fiction that would destroy Elena's faith. Marcus showed the box to Tommy. "Your grandmother did all of this," he said. "She planned it for years. She was meticulous." Tommy stared at the letters, at all those words his mother had written, hoping they would reach the man she loved. "She was evil," Tommy said quietly. "She was damaged." Marcus's voice was tired, but not angry. "She grew up believing that love was weakness, that you had to manipulate and control to survive. She thought she was protecting me. In her twisted way, she believed she was doing the right thing. Does that excuse her? No, nothing excuses this. But understanding why people do terrible things, it helps you not become terrible yourself." Tommy was quiet for a long moment. "I'm glad she's dead," he finally said. "Is that wrong?" "I don't know." Marcus put his arm around his son. "I don't know what's right and wrong anymore. All I know is that you're here, your mother is here, and we have a chance to be a family. That's what matters now." 1 year later, Marcus Wellington married Elena Vasquez in a small ceremony on a beach in Hawaii. Tommy stood beside his father as the best man, Elena's parents, now legally documented and no longer living in fear, watched from the front row. The nurse who had saved Elena's life at the hospital where she was treated sat in the second row, crying happy tears. There were no press, no cameras, no celebrities or CEOs or politicians, just family. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" Tommy joked during his speech at the reception. "That's what I asked the night I met my dad. I didn't know that the leftovers would turn out to be a whole life I never knew I was missing." The guests laughed and cried and raised their glasses. "To new beginnings," Marcus said, holding Elena's hand. "To second chances," Elena replied. "To family," Tommy finished. And in that moment, surrounded by love and warmth and the sound of waves crashing on the shore, Marcus Wellington finally understood. Success was not measured in dollars or buildings or stock prices. Success was measured in moments like these, in the hands you held, in the eyes that looked at you with love, in the children who called you Dad, even after 12 years of not knowing you existed. His mother had spent her whole life chasing the wrong things. She had sacrificed love for status, family for fortune, happiness for an image that existed only in her own mind, and in the end, she had died alone. But Marcus would not make the same mistake. He looked at his wife, his son, the family he had almost lost, and he made a silent vow to never let a single day pass without telling them he loved them, to never let work or money or pride get in the way of what truly mattered, to be present, to be kind, to be the father and husband he was always meant to be, because in the end, the only legacy that truly matters is love, the kind of love that survives separation and lies and 20 years of loneliness, the kind of love that brings a starving boy to a restaurant window on a rainy night, the kind of love that looks past scars and secrets and whispers, "I'm here, I've always been here, and I'm not going anywhere." That night, as Marcus tucked Tommy into bed, something he had never gotten to do before, something he planned to do every night from now on, his son asked him a question. "Dad, do you think Grandma is watching us from somewhere? Do you think she's sorry for what she did?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "I don't know what happens after we die," he said honestly. "I don't know if your grandmother can see us or if she has the ability to feel sorry. But I do know this. Holding on to anger and bitterness doesn't hurt the person who wronged you. It only hurts yourself." "So you forgive her?" "I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a switch you can flip. It's a journey. Some days are easier than others." "And you think she would want to be forgiven after everything?" Marcus thought about his mother, about the frightened woman hiding behind the cold exterior, the girl who had watched her family lose everything, the survivor who had learned that love was dangerous and control was safety. "I think she would want us to be happy," he said finally. "I think underneath all the scheming and the manipulation, she genuinely believed she was doing what was best for me. She was wrong, terribly, tragically wrong. But I don't think she was evil." "Then what was she?" "Human, broken, like all of us, in different ways." Tommy nodded slowly. "I think I can work on forgiving her too, not for her sake, for mine." Marcus smiled. His son was wiser than his years. "That's very mature of you." "I had a good teacher." Tommy grinned. "YouTube has a lot of videos about forgiveness too." They both laughed. And in that laughter, in that simple, beautiful moment between a father and son who had found each other against impossible odds, there was healing. The story of Marcus Wellington and his lost family spread across the world. But it was not the scandal that people remembered. It was the redemption. Millions watched the interviews where Marcus spoke openly about the years of separation, about the manipulation by his mother, about the joy of discovering his son. Millions more read Elena's book, a memoir about surviving, about hoping, about never giving up on love. And millions wrote letters to Tommy, children who felt abandoned, teenagers who thought no one loved them, adults who had lost hope. They all wrote to say that Tommy's story had given them courage. That if a boy eating from garbage cans could find his billionaire father, maybe they could find something too. Maybe they could find family, purpose, love. Tommy answered every letter personally. It took him years to get through them all. But he understood something that most people never learn. When you have been through darkness, your light can guide others home. He grew up to become a doctor, specifically a pediatrician who worked in free clinics for homeless children. He never forgot what it felt like to be hungry. He never forgot the shame of digging through dumpsters while rich people laughed inside restaurants. And he never, ever let a child feel invisible. Every kid matters, he would tell his patients. Every single one. I don't care where you come from or who your parents are. You matter. His parents watched him with pride that words could not express. Marcus eventually retired from Wellington Industries, handing the company over to a trusted team of executives. He spent his remaining years traveling with Elena, making up for all the adventures they should have had decades earlier. They saw the Eiffel Tower. They walked on beaches in Bali. They climbed mountains in Switzerland and sailed boats in Greece. And everywhere they went, they held hands, like two young lovers who had never been apart at all. Was it worth it? Elena asked one day as they watched the sunset from a villa in Italy. All the pain, all the years. Was it worth it for this? Marcus considered the question. The pain was not worth it, he said. No amount of happiness can make suffering worthwhile. But this moment, right here with you, this is everything. This is what I was always looking for. Even when you didn't know what you were looking for? Especially then, he kissed her forehead. Every wrong turn led me here. Every setback pushed me forward, and now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Elena smiled, the same smile that had captured his heart in a university library 40 years ago. I love you, Marcus Wellington. I love you, Elena Wellington. And they sat together, watching the sun disappear into the sea, knowing that some stories don't have happy endings. They have happy forevers. But leur. Years later, when Marcus was very old and very tired, he called Tommy to his bedside. Elena had passed peacefully in her sleep the winter before, and Marcus knew he would follow soon. He was not afraid. He had lived a full life, not a perfect one, but a good one. I wanted to tell you something, Marcus said, his voice weak but clear. What is it, Dad? That night, the night I found you at the restaurant, I followed you into the alley because something made me do it. I didn't know what. I just felt pulled, like there was an invisible string connecting us. Tommy took his father's hand. I felt it too. When I looked through the window and saw you, I felt like I knew you, even though we had never met. That was your mother's love, Marcus said. She talked about me to you, didn't she? Even when she thought I was dead, even when she thought I had betrayed her. Every night. She would tell me stories about a young man who worked 3 jobs and dreamed of building an empire. She said he was the bravest person she had ever known. I wasn't brave, not really. I gave up on finding her. I accepted the lie my mother told me. If you had been truly brave, you would have been reckless, Tommy interrupted. You would have destroyed yourself looking for her. And then you wouldn't have been there in that restaurant, on that exact night, when I needed you most. Marcus blinked. He had never thought of it that way. Everything happens when it's supposed to, Tommy continued. That's what Mom always said. We can't control the timing. We can only control what we do with the time we have. She was very wise, your mother. She learned it from you. Marcus laughed, then coughed softly. His eyes were growing heavy. Tommy, he whispered, I need you to promise me something. Anything, Dad. Promise me you'll tell this story, our story. Not because I want to be remembered, but because someone out there needs to hear it. Someone who feels lost, someone who feels forgotten, someone who thinks that their story is already over. I promise. Tell them that it's never too late. Tell them that love finds a way. Tell them that Even when the world seems dark and cold and hopeless, there's always a chance. Always. Tommy squeezed his father's hand, tears streaming down his face. "I'll tell them, Dad. I'll tell everyone." Marcus smiled, the same smile that had won Elena's heart all those years ago in a university library. "Good," he whispered. "That's good." And with his son's hand in his, with peace in his heart, with the memory of Elena's smile guiding him forward, Marcus Wellington closed his eyes for the last time. They buried him next to Elena on a hill overlooking the ocean. The headstone was simple, just their names and the dates, and a single line that Tommy had chosen: "Love finds a way." Every year, on the anniversary of that rainy night when a starving boy asked a billionaire for leftovers, Tommy returns to that hill. He brings flowers for his parents. He sits on the grass and talks to them about his life, his work, his own children. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, he swears he can hear their voices answering back. "We're proud of you," they seem to say. "We've always been proud of you." And Tommy smiles, wipes his eyes, and walks back down the hill, back to his family, back to his patients, back to a life filled with purpose and meaning. Because that's what his parents taught him. That love is not just a feeling. It's a choice, a commitment, a promise that you make every single day, no matter how hard it gets. And if you're lucky, if you're truly, impossibly, miraculously lucky, that love will find you. Even when you're not looking, even when you've given up hope, even when you're standing in a cold alley reaching into a garbage bin, praying for something to eat. Love will find you. It always does. So, the next time you see someone struggling, a child on the street, a stranger who looks lost, a person who seems invisible to the world, remember this story. Remember that you might be looking at someone's lost child, someone's missing piece, someone who matters more than you could ever imagine. And remember that sometimes the smallest act of kindness, a meal shared, a door held open, a moment of genuine human connection, can change everything, because we are all connected in ways we cannot see. And love, true love, always finds its way home.